led by the esteemed ambassadors of India and Bhutan, His Excellency Mr. Sudhakar Dalela, His Excellency Major General V. Namgay. This panel discussion will explore the nuances and significance of the India-Bhutan friendship, one that has maintained remarkable heights of trust, cooperation, and mutual support. As two neighboring nations, India and Bhutan share not only borders, but also a rich cultural heritage and historical ties that date back centuries. This enduring friendship has withstood the test of time, adapting to the changing global landscape while remaining rooted in common values, respect, and understanding. Your Excellencies, our two countries have had over 5 decades of diplomatic relations. What would you tell the new generation of young people in both our countries about India and Bhutan?
Thank you. I'll take this question first. Before that, I would just like to mention to the esteemed audience that Ambassador Sudhakar and I are not writers of books or poets, but we are not completely a misfit for this festival, because we write a lot of reports. And if they are compiled together, would probably go into several books. Okay, now coming back to your question. India-Bhutan relations are very special, and they go back not just only to the 50 years of diplomatic relations, or 55 years of diplomatic relations. They go back from the time the British left South Asia. Actually, it goes back to the time of Lord Buddha, culturally and otherwise, but politically, I would say that it goes back from the time the British left South Asia. Bhutan followed a policy of self-imposed isolation to avoid being colonized, and we were successful in that. And when the British left South Asia, everything changed. There was a new perspective. India is not the British. So India is a very close neighbor with close cultural and religious links. So I would say our relations actually started from 1949 when we signed the Friendship Treaty. And then it goes to 1954 when Prime Minister Nehru invited His Majesty the Third King as the chief guest for the Republic Day celebrations in India. A great honor for Bhutan and a great recognition for Bhutan. Another important landmark is when Prime Minister Nehru visited Bhutan when there were no roads, and he was already 69 years old, and in 1958 he came to Bhutan. And then another landmark took place following that visit. India extended generous development assistance to Bhutan, and we started our first 5-year plan in 1961, entirely funded by India. And that's how the modernization process really started in Bhutan. Then we established diplomatic relations in 1968. And in 1971, when Bhutan wanted to join the United Nations, India supported us. India lobbied for us. And as a result, Bhutan was unanimously voted in to the United Nations as a new member of the United Nations. And then I would say, I've got a few dates written down here, and the important date after that would be 1984, when His Majesty the Fourth King was invited by Prime Minister Indira Gandhi as the chief guest for the Republic Day celebrations. Again, a recognition of how important and how close our relations are. And in 1985, Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi made a state visit to Bhutan. Again, a reflection of how close the relations were. And in 1988, to highlight the economic cooperation, the Chukha hydropower project was inaugurated by His Majesty the Fourth King and President Venkataraman. Then comes another important landmark, which Her Majesty mentioned yesterday in the discussions, the military operations of 2003. Why is that important? Because the insurgents who had established camps in the southern foothills of Bhutan were endangering the security of both Bhutan and India, because they were fighting for independence of Assam. Recognizing how serious a threat this was to both countries, His Majesty the Fourth King personally led the military operations and successfully removed all the 35 camps that were established. So that I consider to be also a very important landmark in our history of our two countries. Then in 2005, His Majesty the Fourth King was again invited as chief guest for the Republic Day celebrations, which again underscores how close and how valued the India-Bhutan friendship and relations were. And in 2007, the 1949 treaty was updated, and it was signed by our present king and by Pranab Mukherjee, who was the foreign minister at that time and later became the president of India. This put our India-Bhutan relations on a new footing, showed the maturity of the relationship between us, and provides the blueprint for our relations, for our cooperation in the 21st century and beyond. Then, in 2009, we opened a Consul General office in Calcutta, again showing the economic cooperation, how it's been growing, how the friendship is growing, how it's expanding. And the liaison office in Pinsoling, India's liaison office in Pinsoling, was also upgraded to a consulate. So the relations kept growing closer and closer, and this was reflected when Prime Minister Modi, after winning his landmark parliamentary victory, chose Bhutan as his first destination for a foreign visit, once again underscoring that India-Bhutan relations cuts across party lines. All the parties, regardless of which parties in power are there in the two countries, India-Bhutan relations remain ever close and ever valuable. Then in 2018, we celebrated the 50th anniversary of India-Bhutan relations. And I must say that Ambassador Sudhakar was Joint Secretary North at that time, and I was Ambassador, and we worked together very closely to celebrate the 50th anniversary. And the Foreign Minister of India at that time was Sushma Swaraj, a very good friend of Bhutan. And I bow my head in humble memory and appreciation to late Sushma Swaraj. She gave us directions. 50 years of diplomatic relations must be celebrated with 50 events in both countries. We had a difficult time, I think, Ambassador Sudhakar and me, to think of 50 events. But I would say that one of the important events was the establishment of our Consul General office in Guwahati, one of the very big landmark events. And the other important event was the Bhutan Week, where we showed India the cultural diversity of Bhutan and to let our Indian friends see Bhutan in all its aspects. And the 50th anniversary was initially kicked off by the two foreign ministers of Bhutan. And the Bhutan Week was inaugurated by no less than Her Majesty the Queen Mother, Ngayom Ajitojiwama Wangchuk, and Vice President Venkaiah Naidu. And I can tell you that all my colleagues in the diplomatic community were very impressed and deeply appreciative of how the Bhutan Week was showcased to show the closeness of Indo-Bhutan relations and also let everybody in Delhi and in India see the cultural diversity of Bhutan. So then I would just like to mention another highlight. That date is very important. 22nd November 2022. India and Bhutan worked together to develop a satellite, a small satellite. 3 engineers from Bhutan trained and worked together with engineers of ISRO in Bangalore. They built the satellite and it was launched on 22nd November, Sri Harikota, where the launching takes place, on the indigenous satellite developed very successfully, launching many, many rockets by ISRO. And I was personally there with our Minister of Communications, and it was a landmark event, which I would describe as taking India-Bhutan friendship and cooperation into a new dimension, way beyond, into space even, reflecting how we are going to soar in the 21st century. Now, what is my message to the younger generations? So, the younger generations in both Bhutan and India, my message is, listen to this slightly old-timer. I've been around for quite some time, and I have seen India-Bhutan relations grow from the time I was a school boy, studied in India only, and as the aide-de-camp to His Majesty the Fourth King, accompanying him on all his visits to India, and then finally as ambassador to India, working very closely with friends like Ambassador Dalela, Joint Secretary North Anurag, and this is a very precious and important relationship. We have only 2 immediate neighbors, China in the north, India in the south. We must maintain good relations with China because it's immediate neighbor in the north. But India is very special. India is the key to Bhutan's socio-economic development, as you should all be knowing and appreciating, right from the 1961 launching of the first 5-year plan. We have been able to achieve our socio-economic progress largely because of India's friendship and support. Of course, other countries have also come in to support us, and we appreciate that. But India is special. Our relations are special. It is built on genuine friendship, genuine trust, at all levels, cutting across all political parties. And I'll just give you a small example of how special, how close this relationship is. Last year in September, when Queen Elizabeth passed away, His Majesty the King was invited for the funeral, and he was going to go, and he was going through Delhi. I think Ambassador Sudhakar received a call, I received a call. We received a call sometime on a Sunday. Not a working day, mind you, that His Majesty is passing through Delhi. He'll be coming on Wednesday, just 2 days away. And he would like to meet Prime Minister Modi and spend maybe 1 or 2 days in India. Now, in such scenarios, when the heads of state, heads of government want to meet each other, preparations have to be done maybe weeks in advance, in many cases months in advance. Here we're getting a call, both of us, on a Sunday. I rang up Joint Secretary North Anurag also. He said, now this is it. We have to organize it. And they both said, yes, yes, we will work very hard together. We have to check the Prime Minister's schedule. Prime Minister was going to Shanghai Cooperation meeting on Thursday, which was actually cutting it extremely fine. But the Prime Minister was very happy to meet His Majesty. The Foreign Ministry arranged everything. His Majesty had a very good visit, very good discussions. I would cite this as how good, how close our relations are. And this is something which all the young people here, I would like to ask all the young people here. There may be some Indians here also, young people. And there are many young people here from Bhutan. Please appreciate, ask your elders about how the relations are. I will ask all my elder colleagues, many of them are here, to also explain to the young generation how important and how precious this relationship is. We have reached so far because of the closeness of our relations. We will reach further because of the closeness of our relations. Thank you very much.
And I look forward to the 100 events at our 100th year. Ambassador Dalela, what would be your message to young people in India and Bhutan?
Well, it is very difficult to speak after an ace diplomat like Ambassador Namgay, who has seen this relationship grow for the last 50 years or so. So I think we are hearing a person who has lived this relationship his entire life. So please give me the second question first, so that I don't have to speak after him. It's very difficult to speak after him. He has covered, of course, the full breadth and scope of our partnership and the legacy of India-Bhutan friendship. And I completely concur with Ambassador Namgyal that it is extremely critical for us, particularly our younger generation, to know the legacy of India-Bhutan friendship, which has been laid by Druk Gyalpos of Bhutan and successive political leadership in India. I think, as generally mentioned, we have had religious and spiritual connection dating back centuries. The great saint Guru Padmasambhava came to Bhutan in 8th century. But in modern times and post-colonial period, our relations came to be defined, in my view, by two important events. And I think, General, we did allude to that. One is, of course, the state visit of His Majesty the Third King of Bhutan to India in 1954, and then a visit by Pandit Nehru in 1958 to Bhutan. And these two visits, to my mind, defined the common vision and direction of our partnership for the years to come. Their vision was, of course, of working together in partnership based on utmost trust, goodwill, understanding, and being sensitive to each other's interests and concerns. I think over the years, I would like to also say that the wisdom and guidance of His Majesty the Fourth King for over 3 decades, and he continues to guide us today also, and His Majesty the King of Bhutan have further nurtured this very important partnership. To my mind, once again, India-Bhutan ties are what they are today because of the great wisdom and far-sightedness of their Majesties in Bhutan. And as General V mentioned, he mentioned a number of visits from India to Bhutan and Bhutan to India. I think this has been a great hallmark of our relationship, that we have had very close political ties at the highest level between our two countries. Fast forward to 2014, the fact that Honorable Prime Minister of India, Shri Narendra Modi, in 2014 chose Bhutan to be the first country to visit after assuming responsibility as Prime Minister, also symbolizes the importance of Bhutan in India's foreign policy and the importance that India attaches to India-Bhutan partnership as a model for good neighborly relations. I think ours is a partnership which has seen momentous changes. Again, General, we alluded to it. It is very adaptable. We keep modifying, calibrating our partnership based on the current requirement, present requirement. And we are working together for progress, peace, and happiness of our two people and for the region. General, we did mention about the 1949 India-Bhutan Friendship Treaty. I was Director North when His Majesty the King came to India in 2007 to sign the updated Friendship Treaty in Delhi, along with our Foreign Minister, late Shri Pranab Mukherjee. And the treaty defines that we are committed to change, and we are committed to taking our partnership to newer heights in the coming years. Our partnership has stood the test of time, and it has been growing from strength to strength. We take pride in each other's successes and achievements, and we stand together in difficult times, and we saw that in the COVID pandemic time also. So I think all in all, I would say over the last 5.5 decades now, politically speaking, we have a very strong foundation for our partnership. And as sovereign nations, as equal partners, it is on these strong foundation that we would like to build a new partnership which responds to new challenges, new opportunities for both of us, particularly focusing our youth. Thank you.
And that's a great segue into my next question. Your Excellencies, both Bhutan and India are witnessing incredible transformation. As we come into our identities as nations participating in the 21st century, what are some emerging areas of collaboration between India and Bhutan?
Should I take it? Okay. Good. Well, Namgay, you are very right that both India and Bhutan are witnessing or are in the middle of very significant transformation. Today, India is very aspirational, brimming with hope, energy, and a will to excel. And our Prime Minister, on the Independence Day of India last year, did announce his vision to lead the Team India of over 130 billion people to become a developed country by 2047 when we celebrate 100 years of independence. So we are looking forward to that vision. And similarly, I would say in Bhutan, guided by the His Majesty's vision for transformation, we see tremendous change, tremendous energy in terms of how we can sort of harness new opportunities and bring economic prosperity and progress for us people, and to become high-income society by 2034. That is the vision of Royal Government of Bhutan. So I think we both have embraced change, and we are trying to work towards a brighter future for our people. And this change, again, is driven by our younger population, younger generation. And I see majority of our audience today is our younger generation. So I think we look up to them now as to how they will take this partnership forward. I would say that as we set our compass toward the future, we need to make sure that we keep adapting, and we keep adapting in terms of the new realities. And we have to respond to the imagination of our people now as to what is it that we need to do in terms of technology or in terms of other sectors of cooperation. For example, today India is working very closely with Government of Bhutan in terms of its digital Drupal project, which is trying to sort of bring digital connectivity to the village level, geog level, trying to bring citizen-centric portals for better delivery of services and information, and ultimately trying to build a very inclusive digital society. General, we mentioned about launch of India-Bhutan satellite last year, a remarkable event, a major milestone in our partnership in the technology sector. And we are working, both GovTech and ISRO, Indian Space Research Organization, to see how we can use and harness space technology for applications which impact lives of people at the grassroots level, whether it's a forest management or agriculture management. We are trying to sort of deploy space technology for those applications. We are focusing in a big way on connectivity, Namgay, in terms of rail connectivity, inland waterways, road connectivity, and also digital connectivity, and how it can bring greater sort of connection, build greater connection between our people in India and Bhutan. We are trying to also expand our energy partnership to include renewables. Bhutan has joined International Solar Alliance last year, and we are trying to see how we can develop solar energy, green hydrogen in the coming months and years. We are focusing also on skill development. India is partnering with Gyalsang project and Disung skilling project, two flagship initiatives, a visionary initiative of His Majesty. And we will make sure that we continue to tailor our skill development projects which suits the requirement of 21st century. So all in all, I would say I see tremendous energy and enthusiasm. When I travel to different dzongkhas here in Bhutan, I just see tremendous energy to do new things in some of these areas. So to conclude, I think when my minister, the foreign minister, came to Bhutan last year, he did say that His Majesty's vision for transformation will shape the direction of our partnership in the coming years. So we are very committed. I think Her Majesty yesterday used a very apt phrase, sacred partnership. So India-Bhutan partnership is a very sacred partnership. And I think both Ambassador Namgyal and I am very privileged to be leading the Indian team in Bhutan and generally leading Bhutanese team in India to take this partnership to newer heights. Thank you.
Just to add a little bit more, because Ambassador Sudhakar has covered all the points. Following the restructuring exercise here, and also after many decades of India-Bhutan generous assistance to Bhutan, we have built our infrastructure to some extent, and a little bit more needs to be also taken into account. And the way forward, where I see the way forward is that we would now be going into more economic cooperation, which is natural once you build the main pillars of development. And Ambassador Sudhakar mentioned about the rail links. That is a very important infrastructure that still needs to be done. And both sides are working very closely on it. And the waterways for export of Bhutanese products to Bangladesh, another important trading partner. And the Foreign Ministry of Bhutan, after the restructuring exercise, has been also given the added responsibility of external trade, which means the Foreign Ministry, along with the Trade Department, will have to work together very closely to work together on getting investments into Bhutan and promoting trade and exports from Bhutan. And the happy situation that we have is that India is already in nominal GDP terms, the 5th largest economy, reaching close to 4 trillion, 3.75 I think at the moment, economy. And in another 2 years or so, we'll reach the 5 trillion mark and will become the 3rd largest economy. And thereafter, with the very good policies that are being followed down there, the multiplying effect will take India to 10 trillion in no time. And how do we benefit from that? Because India is our closest development partner, closest neighbor. All our trade goes through India. Our trade to third countries also goes through India. When India develops, and I tell all my Indian friends in Delhi that Bhutan is very fortunate. We really, of course, cooperation with other countries is also important, but we can actually thrive and prosper just with trade and cooperation with India. And that's going to pick up when India becomes the 3rd largest economy in the world, and will even close the gap with the two, number 1 and number 2, as the years go by. So what we have to do, we just build on the very close friendship and cooperation that already exists and make it even closer and take advantage of whatever's there in India, the startups and all the, the multi-billionaires. India has got so many billionaires, so many companies which are now top of the world. And Bhutan should look to partner with them in a small way. We cannot do it in a big way, but a small way is good enough for us. So I would say the way forward now is enhance our economic cooperation. And we're very confident that this will work out beautifully. Thank you.
Ambassador Dalela, India is a global powerhouse in the technology domain. What are some recent developments and initiatives taken by the two governments focusing on youth and technology? And this did come out quite a bit in your previous answer as well.
Well, I think you are absolutely correct, Namgay, that the ongoing digital transformation is the most, I would say, remarkable change of our times. In India, we have a Digital India initiative, which aims to transform India into a digitally empowered society and a knowledge economy. I'm sure many of you would know that India today logs the highest number of real-time digital payments, globally speaking. India has one of the fastest ecosystems for innovation now in India. There are more than 100 unicorns in over 80,000 startups in India, and their number continues to grow, and I think General V mentioned about it. In Bhutan, as I said, under the visionary leadership of His Majesty the King of Bhutan, I see a tremendous focus in the Royal Government of Bhutan and the private sector to see how to adapt technological advances and across sector to benefit people, to benefit private sector, and to provide efficient delivery of essential services, and most importantly, providing new economic opportunities for younger generations. So as I mentioned earlier, we are working very closely with the Royal Government of Bhutan under their flagship Digital Drukgyal program. We spoke about satellite technology, so I will not repeat that. We are focusing in a very focused manner, very targeted skill development programs for Bhutanese professionals and students, which looks at 21st century economy. We have begun a very good STEM-based collaboration with Bhutan now, and we provide opportunities to Bhutanese students to also come and study in IITs in India and many other important institutions. Many Bhutanese go to India for pilgrimage, for education, for health and other reasons. So we are also trying to build financial connectivity, and I'm very happy to mention that we do have RuPay card and BHIM app, which can be used in Bhutan and India now, helping people to connect and go easily and travel easily. Recently, we had a very large delegation of Indian tech professionals, entrepreneurs, to participate in this very good event that DHI organized called Global Fab Lab event, which again focuses on innovation and how young people can sort of really get inspired and use technology for societal benefit. Our private sector going forward, Namgay will be a very critical player in building our technology partnership. We recently had chairperson of Tata Sons, the group chairperson, Mr. Chandrasekharan, visit Bhutan to talk to Bhutanese leadership in the private sector as to what they can do to work with Bhutan in technology domain. So all in all, I would say that I see a very bright future for our tech partnership, and I think that future rests in the hand of younger population that is occupying this auditorium today. Thank you.
Ambassador V.
This question, of course, was addressed to Ambassador Sudhakar, but I would just like to support everything that he has said. And the scope for cooperation in the tech sector with India is very vast, very great, because we know all over the world, it is the Indians or the Indian origin people who are driving the tech revolution in Silicon Valley and other multinational corporations also. So it is up to us to make our request to the government of India, and the government of India will be very forthcoming. And I tell my colleagues back home in the royal government, just plan everything very carefully, give clarity on the requests that we have to make to the government of India, and also tell our youth over here also, think you're very bright, you're our future, and it is the job of the Ministry of External Affairs in Bhutan and the embassy in India to facilitate wherever you come with requests. Thank you very much.
Ambassador V, India has played a vital role in supporting Bhutan's aspirations for economic growth, as you've previously mentioned. And with Bhutan's pledge to remain carbon neutral perpetually, what does cooperation then look like on the environmental front?
On the environmental front, Bhutan has got a very good reputation. And that is all thanks to the very far-sighted vision of His Majesty the Fourth King, who has been the guiding force behind our enlightened environmental policies, where we are able to preserve up to 70%. Yesterday, I think Sirimtashi said 69 point something. I still believe it is about 72%, but anyway, it doesn't matter. Our constitution mandates, and the constitution was framed under the guidance of His Majesty the Fourth King, that 60% of our land will forever remain under forest cover. But our goal is to keep it higher than that. And why have we been able to do that? Because we have received generous development assistance from the government of India in all our 5-year plans. And all our 5-year plans initially for many 5-year plans, it was under the leadership of His Majesty the Fourth King. And all the development policies and programs were formulated in a way where there is not only equitable development but there is sustainable development with minimal impact on the natural environment. And that is the reason why we have been able to be carbon negative and confidently declare ourselves that we are committed to being carbon neutral, leaving a little cushion between negative and neutral as development goes on. And also, we are committed to preserving the biodiversity of Bhutan, with more than 50% of our land area under parks and biological corridors, and fully committed to clean energy from hydropower, where again we have very close cooperation with the government of India. When we generate clean power through hydroelectricity, the consumption in Bhutan is clean energy. What we sell to India is clean energy, and that both India and Bhutan, through this cooperation, is contributing to the preservation of the climate and slowing down climate change. And also, on India's side, the Prime Minister of India, Prime Minister Modi, and his government have revamped their climate change policies. And the emphasis on renewable energy has been very tremendous in India. Solar generation of energy has been very vast. And with India's initiative, together with France, the International Solar Alliance has been formed. And this will have a great impact. And Bhutan realized that not only hydropower, solar energy is also good for us. So we joined the International Solar Alliance, and we were working very closely together with India on solar power also. And on the biodiversity, where Bhutan is in the top 10 spots in biodiversity hotspots, we are also very conscious of how to preserve that. And on the wildlife preservation, we have the Manas Wildlife Joint Sanctuary between India and Bhutan, where tiger conservation has been very successful. There was a time when even the tiger population went down during the insurgency in Assam, but it has picked up rapidly after that. And so much so that in 2020, the Wildlife Sanctuary, Joint Wildlife Sanctuary, received an international award for tiger conservation. And there is also now a Big Cat, International Big Cat Alliance at the initiative of India. And Bhutan is a founding member of this new alliance also. So there is a lot of scope for cooperation in the environmental preservation front because India is a vast subcontinent. Actually, it's a continent with great biodiversity, from the Himalayas to the oceans. And Bhutan may be a small country, but we also have, from a very low altitude to the alpine mountain regions, great biodiversity we have together. And we are all committed to working together very closely. And what I would like to tell everyone here is that the partnership between Bhutan and India in environmental conservation is providing yet another excellent example of how a big and powerful country like India and a small friendly neighbor like Bhutan can work together in close friendship and cooperation to our mutual benefit and for the mutual benefit of the world at large. Thank you.
What an incredible conversation, and actually the first of its kind at this literature festival. Your Excellencies, the pleasure and the privilege was mine. To our audience, thank you for your attention, and I hope that you have a lovely rest of the day. Thank you.